This is CineBack and our new quick release kit, allowing you to quickly add and remove your camera to CineBack. So you can go out and film with a super compact setup. And when you're ready for more battery life and a ton of mounting options, you can switch back into cinema mode like that. You can use it like you see here, where we just add and remove the camera as needed. Or if you want a more secure setup, you can add 2 bolts to the top of CineBack using the hidden Allen key in CineBack that we now have built into the base plate, or use the new included quick release knobs to very quickly add a secure connection to the top of your camera so it's nicely locked in place. All of the knobs, screws, and tools are included with the kit and are backward compatible with every single CineBack we've ever made. So no matter what camera and CineBack you have, you can get this quick release to work with your setup. We also now carry Falcam gear on our store, so everything can be found at camerafoundry.com. Here's another example of the quick release system using an FX3 and our XLR handle extension kit. To tear this thing down and get this released, I simply take apart the 2 quick release knobs on the back. Then I can quick release the entire camera. I could go film like this, even with our handle extension installed. In with that, let's talk about what comes in the kit and how to get everything installed and set up with your camera and CineBack. Here's everything that comes in the quick release adapter kit, including our knobs, our thread collar spacers, the quick release adapter and an additional spacer, 3 screws for attaching the spacer to the body, and a ton of screws to mount the whole thing together onto CineBack, as well as compatibility with every single CineBack we sell. Now let's go ahead and install the quick release adapter onto our camera and CineBack. And the first thing we want to do is set up CineBack exactly how the instructions tell us to for your camera and your cage. So bust out the video that covers how to set up your CineBack with your camera and cage, follow those instructions, and we'll pick up from there. Once you have that figured out, you need to figure out which of the F38 quick release plates you're going to go with. There are kind of 2 styles. We have the smaller, thinner version that has a single thread point, and then we have the slightly larger, thicker version that can take multiple threads, which we prefer over here because that gives you more mounting options, but both are compatible with this kit. If you're going with these thinner plates, then you can disregard the thinner of the 2 spacers that come with the kit. If, however, you're going with the thicker camera plate, then you're going to need to install this thinner spacer on top of the quick release adapter kit. To do that, simply install the 3 flathead screws that come with the kit like you see here, and make sure all of the holes line up. Next, we're going to take off the bottom plate of CineBack. So go ahead and flip it on its top and remove these 3 screws. With that done, we can remove the 3 screws that were in the plate, and we're not going to be using those. We're replacing them with longer ones. And if you're looking at the plate like this, where you can see into these little wells, we're going to want to flip that over. Go ahead and grab your kit, and with the sharp corners facing straight backward, we want to go ahead and align it with the rear of the cheese plate. You should have 3 holes in the center facing forward, and we're going to use these 2 silver screws in these 2 wells here to secure it to the cheese plate. Nothing too tight, just enough to hold it in place, and just make sure it stays nice and square and flush with the back of the cheese plate. Now we can flip it over and reinstall it onto CineBack, and the screws are going to depend on the version of CineBack you have. If you remove pan head screws with a Phillips drive, you'll replace them with the longer pan head Phillips drive screws. And if you remove some socket head screws, replace them with the longest socket head screws that came with the kit. This one had pan head screws, so I've gone ahead and added those pan head screws, the longest ones that came with the kit, and we're ready to move forward by installing our Allen key down in this little Allen key holder just there. And if we need to remove it, we flip things over, press right at the end, and we're able to pull it back out. If it is too stiff, because we tried to make it so it'll wear in over time, you can go ahead and face it forward like you see here, and that'll be a lot easier to remove. So that's one way we can tighten down the top of the camera. We'll talk about that in a little bit. With our CineBack extended, we can now start working on the quick release and how it interfaces with the camera. Start by flipping the camera over, and we need to figure out where we're going to install the camera plate. Now, your best bet is going to be installing this roughly where your camera was normally installed on CineBack. So if it was this thread right here, you want to kind of center it up on that. If it was this thread, you center it up on that. Ideally, you use 2 threads if possible, but that isn't always possible. So, if you can, get 2 of these threads in here instead of just 1 like you see here. This particular cage, unfortunately, is only going to allow me to have a single thread. I can't do 2, but that's not the case with every cage. And then go ahead and take the actual quick release and install it on the camera. In a perfect world, this plate will be attached and bolted to the bottom of CineBack, and the top of our camera or our cage will be bolted through these top slots on CineBack, so we have the option to secure it from both sides. That said, you can of course just have the quick release attached to the bottom plate, and that is an option we'll talk about here in a second. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward with installing this. I'm going to insert the whole shebang, the whole party, and I'm going to secure the top 2 screws first and make sure the bottom is working. All right, so I've tightened down just 1 screw just to hold the camera in place while I flip things over and see how things are looking on the bottom here. And it looks like I almost can do 2 screws on the bottom, but not quite. So I'm going to have to stick with 1, or I could adjust the plate forward and back on the camera to get that adjustment just right. So you're going to have to play around. Ideally, we get a couple of screws down in here, but if you can only do 1, that's not the end of the world because we'll have 2 bolts on the top of the camera. And it looks like I was able to get both installed on the bottom and still have proper alignment. So the screen here you can see is nice and parallel with CineBack. Now let's talk about at the top of the camera. You can see here, let me grab my Allen key built into the side of CineBack now, that we just have 1 screw. And that brings me to the 3 ways we can deal with the top of the camera. The first is to just have no screws at all and only use the quick release. So I'll remove this top screw here, set it aside with our Allen key, and I could just run around like this. Have a top handle, some other gear on top. Whenever I need to use the quick release, simply remove the camera, and that would work just fine. The only problem is that's not the most secure. We only have 1 access point or contact point with the camera. If we put a ton of stuff up here or a top handle, that might flex and move around, and with cinema we want everything nice and locked down and super tight. So we could put 2 screws in here and use our Allen key to tighten them, and when we're done, just leave the Allen key right here. The benefit of that is that we have a nice flat cheese plate at the top. We can add whatever we want here, but if we block those screws, we're not able to remove it and go back to our quick release mode. So that is an option, and you could just use the Allen key to add and remove those screws every time you want to get the camera in and out. The third option, and in my opinion the best, is to use these new quick release knobs that we have on the store. And they come with the kit, and in short, they're going to install here and here, and we can just use essentially a thumb screw to lock the camera down in place. So I'm going to get this guy in there, tighten it down, and it's that easy. That's 1. Let's go ahead and add a second one. And just like that, we have a nice secured camera. When it comes time to quick release it, we simply take those threads out super duper fast, or at least it only takes a couple seconds. And now we're able to get our camera out just like that. To get it back in, we simply add it back with a quick release and throw those 2 thumb screws back in. So they're super fast and easy. The only downside is we no longer have a flat cheese plate to add NATO rails and whatnot, so you'd have to mount here at the front or behind it, but you could use the Arca Swiss connection here in the middle, or buy an adapter that adds an Arca Swiss to your camera. Then you can take an Arca Swiss handle like this one and simply thread it down in place, and you wouldn't have to worry about those knobs. They're still both accessible on either side of the handle like this, and that would get you up and running with a really slick, simple setup. These knobs are made up of 3 parts. We have an actual bolt that we're going to convert into a knob. We have the knob itself, which looks like this, and we have a thread collar, which looks like this. On the left here, I have the bolt that is designed to work with this configuration for CineBack. And you'll notice that the knob is taller and longer. So you can't use the original screws that you use to attach to the top of CineBack. You're going to need the next size up. And the way you can figure this out is pretty straightforward. Take the screw that is in the instructions for your version of CineBack and find the next screw up. And you can see that this screw on the right, if I nestle them together, is going to meet at the bottom there, and that's going to be the correct size. So again, you're going to take the top of the socket and line it up with the bottom of the next size up. And if the bottom of the threads where my thumbs are meet up, then you're good to go, and you know this is the correct size. To test that, I'm going to grab the thread collar, and there's two sides to this. One has kind of a texture, as you see here, and the other has a little lip. We're going to take the lip side, and that is what starts attaching to the screw. So we're simply going to thread our screw into this little adapter, just like that. Now we can just make sure that it lines up with our original screw that we used to install CineBack with your instructions. With that installed, we can now install this into the camera and make sure that it is long enough and not too long to install and attach and secure our camera in place. That looks good there, so now I can proceed with adding the knob to the end. And this is going to depend on the screw. Every screw is slightly different, so this is designed to friction fit on top. So if I just press it down here, that's going to be pretty good. If I can't quite get it the rest of the way, I'm going to grab something to bang onto it, like a screwdriver or a small hammer, and I'm just going to set this down on the desk and give it a nice whack. And just like that, we now have a knob, and that shouldn't come back off. If it is a little loose, you could add a little bit of super glue underneath the knob to keep it in place. But we're gonna make two of these of the same size for the top of CineBack. This quick release kit is also compatible with the Sony XLR handle for FX3 and FX30 and other cameras like that. Simply follow the instructions for your CineBack when it comes to using the handle. Add your camera to CineBack, add the XLR handle to your camera, tighten down the two Sony knobs, and instead of using bolts on the XLR handle extension kit that we offer, simply use the included quick release knobs to secure the handle in place. And now we have a super compact setup that is so easy to break down. So I'm going to do this in real time. You could use one or two hands. Simply remove the two knobs on the handle, grab your camera, quick release it off of CineBack. We'll set that aside, and you can go film like this, or you can go ahead and remove the XLR handle to really strip everything down for either travel or if you just want to use the camera on its own. So it's that fast to get everything put together and taken apart. I'll just do the reverse here just for kicks. Go ahead and add the camera to CineBack, add the XLR handle to our camera. Sometimes it's finicky getting that thing on there, and using the two Sony knobs, I'll tighten those down. Then I'll grab our camerafoundry quick release knobs, add them to the back, and now we're back in business, ready to rock and roll. So it's a great setup to be able to tear down and build up quickly and completely change how your camera works with CineBack. So that is the quick release system available at camerafoundry.com. It works with any of our CineBacks, even with the FX3 and the top handle kit that we sell along with our CineBack for the FX3. Check it out at camerafoundry.com. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in our next product video.